Welcome to Season 3 of the Builders Podcast. I'm Matt Levenhagen. Here we share the journeys, strategies, and lessons that help entrepreneurs build what's next. Builders helping builders. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today we are joined again by Dan Daly. Welcome back to the show, Dan.
Oh, it is great to be here, Matt. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
No problem. We had such a great conversation last time. Dan he's led a startup. Let's see if I can say this.
Yep.
Startup to 600 million in annual revenue. And then he transitioned to doing international real estate. Which we're going to get into today. If you want to listen to Dan's first episode, it's episode 254. It was all about his journey and his life, and what came out of that was like 3 pillars. We talked about personal branding, translating a vision, commitment, and the long game, and all. It's really, really good content. I definitely recommend checking it out. Or if you want to maybe pause and go look at that first and get to know him a little bit better, and then back here to talk about real estate. So with that, so you have kind of I don't know if it's unique, but a kind of a unique approach to real estate and what you do with it. You're not just running apartment complexes and things in the States here, or you're more international, and you're doing some really cool stuff, and you're traveling, and you're doing all kinds of fun stuff. So with that, let's first start with this. Let's have you take a minute or two, just, let us know kind of what you do.
Yeah.
What your company does, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive in.
Sure. So since 2019, I led an automotive startup. We started with about half a dozen employees and one little tiny dealership. And within 5 years, grew that to almost 10 dealerships, 500 employees, and 600 million in annual revenue. I was employee number 1 at the company, literally, brought in to try and build this. And man, did we build it. So
yeah, I mean, 600 million is not a small number. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
If you can say that, that's you've done something good. You got something. Yeah.
We built a great team. We did it really quickly, hair on fire for 5 years, but super rewarding, super fast paced, and that's growth and that's building. And during that time, I always kind of had an itch to get into real estate and started buying properties in Europe rather than the US. We can get into why later. And I basically, Matt, took the playbook that I used in automotive, which is understanding that underperforming businesses that are being undermanaged can become more valuable just by implementing better management. You could take the same building, same employees, same product, and implement different processes, and it translates to more profits. Kind of like a private equity model, if you will, right? Yeah. Let's go in, let's manage the business a little bit better and get more profit to the bottom line. Ultimately,
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
no,
but I feel like that's like management is the key to a lot of business. You see sometimes in business, even restaurants and stuff, it's like, how did they fail? They were in a perfect location, had good food, but somehow they had to close the doors. And I would imagine a lot of that's the management of it, or some bad decisions along the way.
I think a lot of it trickles down from decisions that are made up top, for sure. I agree with you. But I think the foundation, what I found over the last 20 years, is based on customer experience. It doesn't matter what type of business you have. If you do not have stellar, industry-leading customer experience for your clients and your guests and your vendors, you're going to have a very challenging time staying in business for a long time and being profitable. So I saw that with automotive, right? We would take the same building, the same people, the same product, and focus more on making our customers happy, exceeding their expectations, getting industry-leading customer experience scores, and our profits went like that. And real estate, especially the real estate sector I'm in, which is hospitality and tourism, is all about customer experience. So I basically took that same exact playbook that I launched the startup from and grew it, and took that mindset and applied it to hospitality and tourism real estate in Europe. And we're seeing the exact same results, which is increased profit for the same building, increased profit for the same location, increased profit for the same assets, just by implementing better processes and better management.
Wow. So you start with the customer experience. So you
You
go
start
go
and
into a
finish with the
place. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you so like typically if you go into a place, I mean, is that the first thing you're looking for? Is that like the main thing you're dealing with? Is that their weakness is not having a good customer experience, or it just could be improved?
I would say it can always be improved. And I'll give you an example. What we did with automotive is we went and acquired some of the largest dealerships in the United States for their brands. Number one, two in retail sales with some of the worst customer experience scores.
Hmm.
And sometimes, you get a little bit comfortable being number one and you tend to pay less attention to the customer sometimes. So what we did was we said, well, we can't really sell a lot more cars because we're already selling a lot. We're servicing a lot of cars. What is the one thing we can focus on? Let's make the existing customers happy, right? So out of a
Hmm.
scale of 1 to 100, some of our customer satisfaction scores were in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. And the industry standard at the time was the mid 60s. So, the mindset was if we're in the 50s and the industry standard is the 60s, we're not really that far off the average, right?
Yeah.
But 60 to me is a failing grade. It doesn't matter what the average is, right? If you send your kid to school and you're paying a lot of money to send him to school and he comes home, he says, "Great news, I got a 60 on my math test." You're not taking him out for ice cream, right? It's a
Right.
failing grade in anybody's book. So we focused on getting those scores from the 30s to the 60s to the 80s to the 90s, all within a 12-month period for 4 or 5 of our stores across both sales and service. So again, same product, same location, same people, and the profit went like that. So again, took that and overlaid it to hospitality. So maybe you have a short-term rental unit and you have a property management company that's working on it for you. And the average customer satisfaction in that area is 4.6, and you're at 4.5. And you say, well, we're not that far off the average. The best score you can get is 5. So you are way off the best that you can be. And what you start to see is when you get those hospitality and tourism customer satisfaction scores from 4.5 to 4.7 to 4.8 to 4.9, guest experience favorite, you get the badge, you get the gold check. All of a sudden, your bookings get extended, your per day rates go up, and you're making the same asset more profitable. It's customer service 101.
I know this is going to be a real estate conversation, but I can't help but think about like my own business, as an agency, and probably anybody listening to this, whatever business they're in, like, maybe I should. I mean, if it sounds like, I mean, you've proven the thesis here that, put more focus on customer experience and improve that, and your profits go along with that. And I feel like a lot of us, like even me, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, my clients are pretty happy, but are they? Is there anywhere we could improve and make their experience even better? So I think just as a general lesson, it's a really good one.
So I think the mindset has to change to, I think we're doing a pretty good job because nobody has called and told me that we're not.
Right, right.
Now, I'm
Yeah.
one of those customers, believe it or not, that if I don't have a great experience, I'm not going to leave you a bad review. I'm not going to tell you that I didn't have a great time. I'm just not coming back to your restaurant or
Mm.
your hotel. I'm not going to give you my business, right? So what I found with automotive was we were scratching our head, how do we fix this? And I locked myself in an office for a half a day, created a spreadsheet, and I called every customer that came into our store within the last 30, 60, 90 days. And I asked them, how could we have done better? And they will
Yeah.
tell you. They'll tell you. They'll say, well, you don't really want to hear the story. No, I want to hear the story.
Hmm.
So after a half a day of this, man, I'm looking at the spreadsheet and all of a sudden, 75% of our customers were unsatisfied because we weren't getting back to them in a timely manner.
Oh, wow.
Nobody called me back when they said they were going to. Nobody called me back when my car was ready. Nobody called me back to thank me for spending $150,000 in your store on a new vehicle. So all of a sudden, I realized really quickly that we could solve 75% of our customer experience issues by just having a process to call them back.
That's
And
fantastic.
with hospitality, it was the same thing. I just started calling the customers and said, what could we have done better? Help us make it better for you next time or for the next guest. And they will tell you most of the time it was related to check in and check out just wasn't that seamless. It could have been smoother. It could have been quicker. When people show up to a new location, they're kind of stressed. They've usually been traveling. Like, it needs to be seamless. And once we got that from where it was to where I wanted it, we went from 4.5 to 4.9 at every property.
Wonderful. So now it's like, I want to make some phone calls today when I get done with this.
I'll tell you, it's the best ROI you will ever get, right?
Yeah.
Because generally everybody says, how do I get more leads?
Yeah.
More leads are more expenses. That's what they mean to me, right? Because you're just going to go out, you're going to spend, you're going to hope you're going to get more leads. Then you've got to take those leads, convert them. It's a long-term game plan
Oh,
that
yeah.
maybe has at best below average to average results. Whereas if you call your customers that you've already earned their business, they came in or did business with you, whatever your business is, and you haven't heard from them, or you call and follow up and they weren't really that happy, that customer will give you another chance to make it right. That is a lot easier way to make money than going out and spending more marketing money to try and get more leads that you hope are going to turn into revenue. I'm not a fan of that at all.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like me right now, I'm trying to do some marketing and trying to think sales, like where can I, doing more networking, outreach, and all this stuff. But I keep in my mind, I'm like, but take care of who you already have, retain, and just make sure you're over delivering or under promising, over delivering, all that good stuff,
Yep.
and make sure because it's harder to get a new one, but if you can keep one, and that person might refer business. Yeah, all good. So, okay, so you started in Europe. Why Europe?
I looked at the US, and the US, I'll give you a couple of reasons. Number one, price per square foot is very expensive here versus Europe, regardless of what state you're in, right? If you just take the US as an average versus Portugal, which is where most of our portfolio is, it's a third of the price there for the same unit here. Los
Wow,
Angeles, you want to spend $1 million, it's going to get you a 1,200 square foot apartment. In Europe, you can buy 4 apartments with it, right?
wow,
So that
that's
was number one.
good reason. Yeah,
I thought it was a great reason, right? Price per square foot, where is it going to get me the most bang for the buck? Next was interest rates. So mortgages here, we've seen them. They've been in the news for the last couple of years in the US, 6.5, 6.8%. Europe, 3.8%. So a dramatic difference in price per square foot, a big difference in your interest rate for long-term mortgages. And then third, it was, okay, what are these properties appreciating in? In the cities that we're focused, Porto, Portugal is the main city we're focused in. Property values last year alone rose 17.8%. So you call it 18%, right? Almost 20%. The US average was
wow,
1.8%.
wow.
So
Why
dramatic
is
difference.
that?
Um, there's less availability there, right? So that's number
Mm,
one is here in the US, we like to build a lot of stuff. So we tend to overbuild, especially when it comes to housing. And then all of a sudden there's a saturation with housing. There's not
right.
enough people. What happens? The prices come down. In Europe, where we invest in these historical city center locations, it's very difficult to get permits to build new housing. So your only
Ah,
alternative really is to go into the older, more historical stuff, refurbish it at a really high level, and then get it to generate cash flow. So your moat or your edge, your protection in Europe is if you're in one of these historical city center locations, it's very difficult for competitors to come in and kind of outbuild you, right? So it's the old supply and demand. Tourism in Europe is going like this, especially since COVID. It's up 300% in Portugal alone.
really?
Um, yeah,
Wow.
it's surpassed the housing availability when you include short-term rentals and hotels. There's more people than there are places to stay. So, where do you want to be where law of supply and demand is in your favor? So all of those reasons were the reasons why we looked at investing in Europe. So we built out that portfolio, put in this hospitality and tourism customer experience, highly focused process for managing our customers and our properties. and did that for about 4 or 5 years. And now we're launching a much bigger scaled model of that built around the Portugal Golden Visa. It's a hospitality and tourism fund. And that will be a $25 million fund that will focus on investors coming in, investing in this hospitality and tourism customer experience that we're talking about that manages these assets. And in return, as part of the Portugal Golden Visa, for people that may not be too familiar with it, it's a program that's offered by the Portuguese government. And it allows you to invest your money for a certain amount of time in certain approved funds. And in return, after 5 years, you get permanent residency for yourself, your spouse, your dependents, and your elderly dependents.
Wow.
It gives you free travel throughout all of Europe. There's 29 different Schengen visa countries. You get access to education and healthcare, certain tax benefits. So I was looking for something to invest in that matched my lifestyle and matched my future plans. And I couldn't really find something. So I basically created what I was looking to invest in myself. And that's the Portugal Golden Visa Hospitality and Tourism Fund.
So, okay. So I wanted to rewind a second.
Sure.
You said something before. You said, you got into real estate because you were attracted to it for some reason. Why real estate?
Real estate was one of those things as I was coming up through my automotive career in sales, finance, management. I would always have great relationships with the customers. And I'd say, what did you do, throughout your life to afford a Ferrari or a Rolls Royce or Bugatti, whatever it was? And like 99% of them had said real estate, real estate, real estate. So I knew it was always something that I was interested in exploring. I just, I waited 20 years before I did it.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious about that.
Yeah.
I know I rewound a little bit, but because I'm always curious why people do things. But now you've built this thing. You've been doing it for 5 years, and so the Golden Visa, is that that the Portuguese government provides that?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so how do you get involved with that?
So it's a regulated program from the Portuguese government, okay? And it allows an investor to take 500,000 euro, which is about $500,000, give or take, invest it in a regulated fund that's approved by the Portuguese government. You leave it there for 5 years. During that 5 years, you get a yield, a return on your money. At the end of 5 years, you get the golden visa for yourself, your dependents, and your elderly dependents, which is lifetime stamp for residency. And then you get the exit at the end once we sell the portfolio of hospitality and tourism companies. So it's like four investments wrapped in one, and it's fully regulated by the Portuguese government. It's been around for a while. It's a great alternative. It's one of those kind of behind the curtain secrets that the ultra high net worth individuals have used for a really long time. It's
Yeah.
it's not so much I'm not going to use it, I'm not going to move to Portugal tomorrow. It's about creating options for yourself and your family for the future in case you decide I want to go and I want to live over there for 6 months or 3 months, or you know what? 10 years down the road I want to retire, or in 10 years when the kids are a little bit older, I'd love to have them have access to European education and culture. It's about creating options, not for today, but for the future.
Well, it sounds amazing.
It
You
is an
get a return on
amazing program.
investment. Yeah, you get a return on investment. You invest for 5 years or whatever, but then you are able to live places and travel and do whatever you want to do there. What?
Freedom,
So
right? It's all about
freedom.
creating some financial instruments to invest in that give you freedom in the future. There's
Yeah.
there's nothing I think any of us wouldn't say is more valuable than having our time and our freedom to spend with our family. And Portugal, by far, is the easiest um, country to do it in. There are other countries that have similar programs. The key with Portugal is they only require you to visit 7 days a year on average during the first 3 years of the program. You don't have to move there. You don't have to live there at least 6 months out of the year. You don't have to change your tax residency. Once you visit, you go on vacation once a year for 7 days. Everything else can be done remotely. It's an
Oh
amazing,
wow.
amazing program.
Wow. Okay. So tell me more about how you're involved, or how you help people with this program, or what is your role here?
So the role is to create a vehicle that will help people get the golden visa. That's what we do. We built the
Okay.
fund around that, right? So the initial vehicle is people invest in the fund. The fund invests in hospitality and tourism related operating businesses. The real foundational elements of successful investments, like we said earlier, are all based on customer experience. So you invest in the hospitality and tourism businesses that are running these properties, and again, your money sits there for 5 years, you get your yield, you get your exit. So we've built the vehicle for you to invest in. Once you invest, we hand you off to one of our partners, whether it be legal or accounting, that kind of then helps you pave the road for the rest of the items.
Okay. So you're running the fund. You
Correct.
created the fund, and that people can invest in. They're investing in hospitality and all that stuff, and then the golden visa comes after that. Like when you cash out or whatever you do,
5
they're
years,
able to
5-year
in
minimum
5 years.
requirement. Yeah. So
Yeah.
once the clock starts ticking from 5 years after that, you get a permanent residency, which then kind of starts the pathway to permanent citizenship. If you wanted to, you can continue down that road and get a secondary passport. But the real key is being able to be a permanent resident and to come back and forth whenever you want, travel throughout Europe and have access to all those great things we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Why not? Sounds amazing. Well,
Well,
so now what do you? So this is Portugal, and it sounds I don't know a whole lot about Portugal. I mean, it sounds like an amazing place to live. I know it's beautiful. I've seen pictures, I've
yeah.
seen movies, people, But so what's so attractive about Portugal? We touched it on a little bit, but why would somebody want to invest in something? And what? Tell us about Portugal a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, sure. That's great. So last year alone, Portugal did like $30 billion just in hospitality and tourism. So it is a booming industry there. And the main reason is because it's safe, it's affordable,
Hmm.
it's easy to access. So by easy to access, I mean it's a 6-hour flight from the East Coast in the United States, and English is a predominant language. So,
Hmm.
there are places in Italy or France or Spain you can go where English is spoken very little. Portugal, I've spent a substantial amount of time there. I don't think I've ever been into a coffee shop, bakery, hotel, restaurant where not 95% of the staff and customers spoke English.
Is that
So it
right?
makes it
Wow.
really easy for people in the United States to transition. Um, all of those difficult boxes are kind of checked off. Well, how do I stay there for a long time? Golden Visa investment. How do I acclimate? It's a lot easier than you think. Most people speak English there. So again, safe, affordable, easy to access, and hospitality and tourism there is just booming. They've surpassed their highest numbers from 2018. So
Hmm.
2018 were their highest numbers in hospitality and tourism. Then, of course, COVID hit. They're up 300% since, not
How does
up
that
300.
happen?
How is it happening? I think all of our lives changed after COVID. And I think
Hmm?
everybody decided to adopt a little bit more time for themselves, and they prioritize themselves a little bit more than they ever have before. I know I did, and a lot of people that I talk to, same thing. We're going on vacation once a year now. It used to be every other year. We're going twice a year now. It used to be once a year. People are spending more time with themselves and with their family and doing things they always wanted to do. So COVID kind of reset that mindset, right? Of what do I want to do with my time? What's important to me? What do I find valuable? So tourism in Europe has been booming, but especially in Portugal because of all those reasons we talked about.
Wow. Yeah, I guess you don't think about that, but yeah, I mean, we kind of like took a lot for granted beforehand, and now it's like, no, I need to, do more in my life and get out of the house more, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So, the conversation that we're having now, people are having every day and they've been having since 2021.
um, yeah, it sounds amazing. So they have beautiful beaches. They have a lot of things to do. A lot of museums and things. Like, what do people do there, like
Y-
for
y-
recreation?
Yeah, I mean, you're saying a lot of it. So if we look at Portugal, it's very similar to California.
Mm,
California almost has three climates. You have San Diego, which is just sunny and warm almost every day. Then you've got, I'm in the Los Angeles area where you get a mix of a little bit of both. And then up in Northern California, San Francisco, and further north, they have a winter up there and it gets a little bit cold. Portugal is very, very similar, right? If you're down in the south, you're in the Algarve region. It's big for surfing, big beach areas. The Lisbon, Porto area is city historical centers, kind of like Los Angeles, San Jose, that type of climate. And then up further north in Portugal is very similar to San Francisco and Northern California, where the winters are a little bit colder, it rains a little bit more. So there's a lot of different flavors there, depending on what you like. I'm from the East Coast originally, so I appreciate the change of seasons. I don't
Mm,
mind the snow. I don't mind
yeah,
the rain in the fall. So Portugal also gives you a lot of different reasons to go there that match the things that you already like.
I love it. Okay, I want to go.
We got to
So
get you over there.
I feel like it. I got a new goal in life. Got to tell my wife, but I think she would get on board. So okay, so what were kind of tell me a little bit about the fund. I'm curious how do you start a fund? Like, let's talk a little bit about if you don't mind talking about your business a little bit, like how you built this thing. I'm curious.
Yeah, it's a great question. About 5 years ago, when I was kind of transitioning, I was trying to figure out what do I want to do next. And there were two things, I've got a journal, right? A professional one and a personal one. And I jot down all these notes and I love to write and read and then go back 2 or 3 years later.
Hmm.
And I love to listen to things and learn things. Podcasts like your podcast, which you and I had talked about, I learned a lot from. There's real estate podcasts, investing podcasts. Like there isn't anything these days that you cannot learn a tremendous amount about in a very short time because there's such a saturation of information in a good way. So I came across a podcast and they basically were talking about this idea of lifestyle investing. If you invest in things that match or are built around your lifestyle, your investment portfolio is going to do that much better because number one, you're interested in it. Number two, you're focused on those things anyway. So for me, it started as a 10-year plan. Where do I want to be in 10 years? I want to be retired. I want to be living in Europe and I want to travel throughout Europe to all of my different properties. That was line number one. And then from there, it was okay, what are some businesses that are in the real estate business that are profitable that I could kind of make adjacent to that? And I wrote down this little note. It said, be the bank. You always want to be the bank, right? And this would be great if we do another one of these. I'll show you the page. These are dated from like 5 years ago. Be the bank. Okay, what does that really mean? Be the bank. So I had to, unwrap that over a period of time to figure out what I actually even meant by that and how do I kind of launch it. And then that turned into start a fund. I started learning about private equity in real estate, how people were doing what I wanted to do, surrounding myself with knowledge from people that were already doing what I wanted to do and just, stealing bits and pieces of it, making it my own and creating this thesis that eventually then you say, okay, now I have a thesis. What's the strategy and how do I execute it? So it went from I'm going to buy one apartment in Porto 5 years ago to launching a $25 million Portugal Golden Visa fund within the first 5 years. So again, 100 miles an hour over the last, 5 years.
Yeah, you're moving fast. Wow, I love that. I love processes. I love learning somebody's process, like how they come up with ideas. I think ideas are really at the core of, that's the foundation of your business and where, your good ideas come from. But it's like the journaling. I've been talking a lot more about journaling lately because I've journaled throughout my life. And, it's a really powerful tool. But the way you're using it here, where you said you got personal and business and that's kind of where you kind of play with ideas and jot things down but then the process of, figuring out exactly your path is just probably kind of meditating on it, thinking about it
Yeah.
and doing some research and talking to people and then because the ideas don't come fully formed. They have to kind of develop out of this kind of crazy, chaotic effort.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right. The ideas have to come out of something. So for
Yeah.
me, I'm a big sports activity guy. I love running. I love swimming. I love cross country skiing in the winter. You name it. If it's outdoors, I do it. And that time doing those things creates a void for me. And what I mean is when I'm not focused on work or family or paying the bills, I go out and I do those things that kind of relax me and get me
Yeah.
off my normal train of thought. And then all of a sudden, these ideas come to me, right? And it'll pop up into my head. And what I'm really good at, Matt, now that I wasn't for a long time was I used to talk myself out of it. I'd have one of these ideas that would come to me and I would go, that's a crazy idea. Be the bank. What does it even mean?
Yeah.
And I would put it
Yeah.
right. I would put it on the
Right.
back shelf and never bring it out again. Now I think about it, I write it down, and then I go back to it and I circle it and I circle it and I circle it and I'll draw some arrows from it. What did I mean when that came into my head? Because I got the message somehow, right? So now
Right.
what does it mean? Is there anything there? And I'm really good now at trusting my instincts, which is what you and I are talking about now. When these ideas pop into your head, it's an instinct. Not surrounding myself with people who are going to talk me out of it. Um,
That's
I was
important.
on
Yeah.
that's probably number one. We might have touched on that in the beginning on the first episode, but if you want to be a one percenter, which is, what everybody kind of like, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people want to achieve. I want to be a one percenter in this. You have to realize that 99% of the other people are not aligned with you. And it's a
Right.
lonely road. And a lot of people will tell you, that's a crazy idea. How are you going to be the bank? How are you going to start a fund? Do you have any experience in private equity? Do you have any experience buying properties in Europe? Do you have any experience getting a mortgage for 20 years on a property in another country? The answer to all of it was no. So it could have been really easy for me to talk myself out of it or to let somebody else talk me out of it. I'm getting really, really good at paying attention to myself.
Well, you said something there too. Like you can have these big ideas and wherever it comes from, some divine kind of energy flow through your body, and that ends up on your pencil and in your journal. But you can't just write off any ideas if you've never done something before. Like if you want to do something you've never done before, that doesn't mean you can't do it. If you've never done it before, you can figure it out. You can figure out the steps, especially nowadays. I mean, with the internet and, like you said,
Yeah.
podcasts and all this, there's so much you can learn that's at your fingertips. I did just kind of as a side tangent here or idea thought. I did art when I'm turning 55 tomorrow.
Happy
And
birthday.
thanks. And I don't know. I think that's good. I've aged well.
It's great. It's great, sir. Any day above ground's a good day.
Yeah, that's right. But when in my early 20s, like my first part of my 20s, I pursued art. I was trying to be an artist. I was going to be a fine artist. I was going to be the next Picasso. And back then, though, it was a very different world, right? There's no internet. We're talking
Yep.
early 90s.
Yep.
And everything I learned, I still have them all. I got all these books on business and how to sell art and all this stuff and do art. But I recently started picking up art again. Different phases in my life. I do it for a while and I don't, and whatever. And I decided I wanted, at this stage of my life, I want it to be something I can do on the side alongside my business, whatever. My point is that as I started to kind of open myself up to art again I'm like, now you have ChatGPT, you have a Grok. I can have full conversations about art and style and history. And then and then you go to YouTube. It's like, holy smokes. If I had that 35 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's amazing what you have access to today, and you can learn just about anything.
There
Great.
isn't, you're spot on. There isn't anything you can't learn today if you want to. That's the
Yeah.
key. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really is.
So do you have any plans to expand outside of Portugal, or are you kind of locked into that region, or?
We're not locked into it, which is great. So the Portugal Golden Visa program, the government requires you to invest 60% in Portugal. The other 40% is completely international. So
Oh,
we're
okay.
already working on building that hospitality and tourism portfolio outside of Portugal, Costa Rica, Japan, Mexico City. So UNESCO World Heritage sites that have a deep historical and cultural emotional tie to people that visit there so that we can keep you coming back once you have a great stay at one of our properties.
Oh, I love that. Well, that's actually great that they allow you to do that.
Yeah.
So then you could travel to all these different places all over the world and Man,
Yeah.
sounds perfect.
That's the
So,
idea.
and the kind of is there anything else you plan on doing? I mean, anything else in your journals that you're going to explore?
This is the big one right now. This is probably a 6-year road, right? It's 5 years for the path to Golden Visa, then about a year or so to exit on the other side, which is sell the hospitality and tourism businesses and the assets and get all of our investors a really nice return on the exit. So this next, 5 or 6 years is really just head down, focused on that. The idea is to take this business model, take this fund. It's repeatable, it's scalable, it serves a need, there's a demand, it's hard for others to replicate. So we're building something here that's really special so that in 5 years, when we have a portfolio of 20 or 30 of these boutique hotels, a Marriott type, Hyatt type property comes in and says, you know what? We want a footprint in these cities. We can't build our traditional big hotels there because they
Hmm.
don't let you. We want to acquire your portfolio, brand it as a Marriott or a Hyatt property, get that boots on the ground, experiential level of service and emotional tie to our customers that the big brands just don't have right now. So it will be very valuable at exit to the bigger brands like that because they don't have the resources to go in to these small kind of niche markets and find these deals one at a time. You
Mm,
know,
yeah.
myself and the team, we love doing that over the next 4 or 5 years, finding these deals, finding the properties, improving them, and then making them more valuable for the bigger players that want to have a footprint in that market.
Fantastic. It's always good to have like that thing you're shooting for. And
Yeah.
that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to learn more about what you're doing and they want to connect with you somehow, where do you live on the World Wide Web?
Best way is the website. So the company is Global Investment Partnership, and the website is globalipllc.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Daniel Daly, Global Investment Partnership. I'll pop up, send me an email. I'll get back to you in 15 minutes.
Fantastic. 15 minutes.
I'm
Wow.
I'm I'm pretty quick, Matt. Yeah.
That customer service is just all the way to it bleeds
Well,
into everything.
it's everything. That's the secret sauce, you
Yeah.
know.
I love it. I love it. Great stuff. Really good conversation. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, Dan.
I appreciate it, Matt. Happy birthday tomorrow.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And UnifiedLabs.ai is where we explore smart, practical ways to integrate AI directly into your website and e-commerce flows. From intelligent chatbots to marketing automation to back-end reporting, all with a strong focus on user experience and making your systems work smarter. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with someone who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building smarter, bolder, and with purpose.